The boarding house door slammed so hard the boys flinched. Sarah didn't. She'd learned not to flinch anymore. Mrs. Pritchard stood in the doorway, arms crossed over her starched apron, face hard as the Wyoming winter descending around them. "I don't rent to women without husbands. Bad for my reputation." Sarah held her youngest son closer. Tommy was 5, shivering despite the blanket wrapped around his thin shoulders. Ben stood beside her, 8 years old and trying to be brave. Jacob, 11, had already climbed back onto the wagon, jaw set, eyes burning with the kind of anger that came from understanding too much too young. "Please," Sarah said quietly. "Just for the night. The storm's coming. Should have thought of that before your husband got himself killed." Mrs. Pritchard stepped back, reaching for the door. "Good evening, Mrs. Brennan." The door shut. The lock clicked. Sarah stood on the porch for a moment. Snow beginning to fall in heavy, wet flakes. She could feel the town watching. Every window on Main Street had a face behind it, lamplight making them glow like judges' eyes. No one moved. No one spoke. Across the street, Mr. Calhoun stood in the window of his bank, arms crossed, mouth curled in something that wasn't quite a smile. She'd seen that look before. It was the look of a man who enjoyed watching people fall. "Ma," Ben whispered. "What do we do?" Sarah turned from the door. Her wagon sat at the hitching post, everything they owned packed into 2 battered trunks. 1 horse, ribs showing, head hanging low. 3 boys. No money left. No family within 200 miles. She looked at the wilderness trail leading out of town, into the dark hills beyond. The temperature was dropping fast. The wind was rising. If they stayed in town, they'd freeze in the wagon. "If they left, we'll camp past the ridge," she said, climbing onto the seat. Tommy whimpered. Jacob said nothing. The wagon creaked forward. Snow gathered on the boys' shoulders like burial shrouds as they reached the edge of town. Sarah glanced back once. Every light in Coldwater burned warm and bright. Every door stayed closed. She turned away. They were a mile into the darkness when she saw him, a rider on the ridge above, silhouette sharp against the dying light. Watching. Waiting. Her hand moved toward the rifle beneath the seat. The rider began to descend. The rider didn't ask her name, didn't ask her story. Just turned his horse and said, "Follow me." Sarah's hand stayed on the rifle. "I don't know you." "No, ma'am." His voice was low, steady. Not friendly, but not cruel either. "But I know that trail you're on leads nowhere. And I know this storm will kill you and them boys by midnight. We'll manage." "You won't." Tommy's teeth chattered so hard Sarah felt it through her coat. Ben had stopped talking an hour ago. Even Jacob, stubborn as his father, had pulled his hat down low, surrendering to the cold. The rider waited. Snow gathered on his hat brim. "Why?" Sarah asked. "Because..." He turned his horse. "Follow or don't. Your choice." She followed. The cabin appeared after 20 minutes, small, weathered, but solid. Smoke rose from the chimney. A barn stood behind it. And beyond that, a single grave marker with a wooden cross. The rider dismounted and opened the cabin door. Firelight spilled out, warm and golden. "Inside," he said. "All of you." The boys stumbled toward the heat like moths. Sarah hesitated at the threshold. The man pulled a canvas sheet from a peg on the wall, began stringing it across the middle of the room with practiced efficiency. "Boys by the fire. You take the bed. I'll sleep in the barn. I won't take charity." He glanced at her, eyes shadowed beneath his hat. "Then call it a trade. You cook. I'll pretend it's charity so my pride don't suffer." Tommy collapsed in front of the fireplace, Ben beside him. Jacob stood rigid, watching the stranger with suspicion. Sarah looked around the cabin clean. sparse, everything in its place. A man living alone, a man who'd been alone for a while. "There's stew in the pot," the man said. "Beans in the barrel. Feed them. I'll tend your horse." He walked out before she could respond. Through the frosted window, Sarah watched him lead her exhausted mare toward the barn. He moved slowly, speaking to the animal in tones too low to hear. Then he stopped at the grave marker, hat in hand, snow gathering on his shoulders. He looked like a man who'd forgotten how to come inside. Tommy was already asleep, curled against Ben. Jacob sat by the fire, arms wrapped around his knees. "Who is he?" "Ma," Ben asked. Sarah hung her wet coat by the door. "I don't know, baby." But she looked at the grave again, 2 names carved in the wood. Eleanor and Daniel Tucker. 1879. 3 years dead, and the man still slept in the barn. She ladled stew into bowls with shaking hands. The widow didn't sit still. Cole had noticed that first thing. Always moving, mending, scrubbing, teaching the boys their letters by the fire. 3 days since the storm. The snow had stopped, but the cold hadn't. Sarah insisted on earning her keep. She'd patched his shirts, cooked meals that actually tasted like something, organized the chaos he'd been living in since Eleanor died. The boys worked too. Jacob, serious and watchful, hauled water from the creek. Ben, cheerful despite everything, chopped kindling with fierce determination. Tommy shadowed Cole everywhere, silent as a ghost, watching with enormous eyes. Cole wasn't used to being watched anymore. He sat on the porch step, carving a wooden horse for the boy. His hands shook not from cold, but from memory. Daniel had been 5 when the fever took him. Same age as Tommy, same hungry eyes. Eleanor had begged him to fetch the doctor, but the storm had been too fierce, the town too far. By the time he'd made it back, the knife slipped. Blood welled on his thumb. "Mr. Tucker." He looked up. Sarah stood in the doorway, flour on her hands. "You're bleeding." "It's nothing." She came outside anyway, tore a strip from her apron, wrapped his thumb with efficient gentleness. Her hands were rough, scarred from work, a widow's hands. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "All of it." She sat beside him on the step. "You didn't have to help us." "Yes, I did." Before she could respond, hoofbeats sounded on the trail. Cole stood, instinct moving his hand toward the rifle propped by the door. A rider appeared, Deputy Walsh, red-faced and uncomfortable. "Tucker." "Deputy." Walsh dismounted, handed him a folded paper. "From the church council. Reverend Mills and Mr. Calhoun want you to know. Folks are concerned." Cole unfolded the note. "Read it once. Twice." "Mr. Tucker. A widow woman staying unchaperoned in your home presents an improper situation. For the sake of decency and your reputation, we advise she be encouraged to move along. Town resources can assist with relocation. Signed, the council." Sarah had gone pale. She'd read it over his shoulder. "Tell them," Cole said slowly, "that she's staying till spring." Walsh shifted uncomfortably. "Cole, they're serious. Calhoun's got influence. He can make trouble. Tell them." The deputy left. Cole crumpled the note in his fist. Sarah's voice was quiet. "I won't let them ruin you for helping us. They already ruined me, ma'am, 3 years back." He looked at the grave. This might be the first thing I done right since that afternoon." Cole began framing an addition 2 walls extending from the cabin's east side. Jacob appeared beside him, holding a hammer. "What's this for?" "Reckon you boys need a proper room. Can't sleep on a floor forever." Jacob studied him. "Why are you doing this?" Cole drove a nail home. "Because you're here, and you need it." The boy picked up a board without another word. By sunset, the frame stood skeletal against the sky. Sarah watched from the window, one hand pressed to the glass. Cole didn't look back, but he felt her watching. For the first time in 3 years, the weight on his chest lifted just enough to breathe. The addition rose slow, one log at a time, one nail driven true, like trust. Cole figured, built in inches. December bled into January. The work continued. Jacob learned to notch logs, measure twice, cut once. Ben fetched tools, singing songs Sarah taught him. Tommy held nails, handed them up like precious offerings. Cole taught them to track rabbit, read weather, split wood without wasting motion. Sarah taught him to read slow progress. Embarrassing at first, but she never mocked him. Just pointed to words in her husband's Bible, patient as sunrise. "The Lord is my shepherd." Cole read haltingly one evening, "I shall not want." "Good," Sarah said. Again. The boys were asleep behind the canvas divider. The fire burned low. Her shoulder touched his. He read it again. Outside. The wind howled. Inside. Something warmer than fire had begun to grow. But the town hadn't forgotten. They arrived on a bright Saturday, 4 men on horseback. Mr. Calhoun led them, flanked by Reverend Mills and 2 stone-faced elders. Cole met them in the yard, Jacob and Sarah watching from the porch. "Tucker." Calhoun smiled, cold as the snow. "We're here as friends, concerned friends." "That's so. This situation." Calhoun gestured towards Sarah. "It reflects poorly on you, on the church. We're asking respectfully that you reconsider this arrangement." Cole said nothing. Reverend Mills cleared his throat. "Brother Tucker, we understand Christian charity, but a man alone with a woman, the appearance of impropriety." "She's a widow with 3 children." Cole said flatly. "Where do you propose they go?" "The county has resources. Orphanages, no." Sarah stepped forward, voice shaking. "You will not take my boys." Calhoun's smile widened. "Mrs. Brennan, no one wants to take your sons, but without property, without means. The county has authority. She's under my protection." The words came out harder than Cole intended. The men exchanged glances. "Your protection." Calhoun leaned forward in his saddle. "Tucker, let's be plain. Your land has valuable water rights. Some might say you're exploiting this woman's situation to claim her late husband's mining shares. Some might question your motives." Cole's jaw tightened. The lie was elegant, crafted to make him look either like a predator or a fool. "I'd think on that carefully." Calhoun continued. "Accidents happen to men with clouded judgment. Fires. Fences cut. Wells poisoned. Is that a threat? Just neighborly concern?" They rode away. Cole stood in the yard, fists clenched, saying nothing. Sarah waited until they were gone. "You should have defended us." "I know." "Then why didn't you—" He couldn't answer. Fear had locked his throat, fear of losing everything again, fear of fighting and failing, fear of the grave he visited every morning. That night. Sarah began quietly packing. The half-built room stood dark in the moonlight skeletal, unfinished, like everything else. The blizzard came down like God's own fist, no warning, no mercy. For 3 days, they were trapped. The boys huddled under quilts, playing games Sarah invented. Cole kept the fire high, the coffee strong. Outside, the wind screamed. Inside, something broke. It started with silence. Sarah sitting by the fire, staring at nothing. Cole recognized that look. He'd worn it himself for 3 years. "Talk to me," he said. "About what? Anything." She looked at the boys, asleep in a pile like puppies. Their father was a good man. Careful, cautious. I begged him not to go into the mine that day. I had a dream I knew something was wrong. Her voice cracked. He went anyway. The shaft collapsed. 20 men died. I couldn't save him. Cole sat beside her. I couldn't save them either. Eleanor and Daniel. He nodded. Fever came fast. She begged me to fetch the doctor. But the storm I tried. I rode all night. But by the time I got back, he stopped. The words stuck like splinters. Sarah's hand found his. You can't fight a storm. I should have tried harder. You would have died too. Then there'd be 3 graves out there. He looked at her, really looked. Her face was lined with grief and work, but her eyes were clear, honest. She'd lost everything, same as him, but she hadn't stopped fighting. You saved those boys, Cole said quietly. That's more than most folks ever do. Sarah's composure shattered. She wept silent, shaking sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep and dark. Cole held her, clumsy but sincere, the way a man holds something precious and fragile. When she finally pulled back, her eyes were red but steady. Thank you, she whispered. For what? What? For seeing me? The kiss was tentative, barely there. Testing, then deeper. Grief recognizing grief, loneliness finding solace. The fire crackled. The boys slept on. The storm raged outside, but inside, 2 people remembered how to be warm. The next morning, the storm broke. Sunlight poured through the windows, blinding and clean. Sarah was packing her trunk when Cole found the paper's eviction notice. Legal threats, county stamps. He read them twice. Blood going cold. What is this? She wouldn't look at him. They'll take my boys. The county. If I can't prove I have means, property, a home, they'll send them to an orphanage. Split them up, probably. When, end of February, maybe sooner if Calhoun pushes. Cole stared at the papers. The county seal stared back. Not while I'm breathing, he said. She looked up, eyes red. You can't fight the law. Watch me. He pulled something from his pocket, his wife's wedding ring, simple gold band, pressed it into Sarah's palm. Wear it. In town. Let them think what they need to think. You're under my protection, legal or not. Cole. I mean it. You and those boys. You're mine now. She stared at the ring, then, slowly, slid it onto her finger. Outside. The snow began to melt. Spring was coming, but the fight wasn't over. She shouldn't have come to town. But they needed supplies, and Cole said it was time to face it down. He was wrong. The town hall was packed every family, every busybody, every soul in cold water who had nothing better to do on a Sunday afternoon than judge their neighbors. Sarah sat in the back, the ring heavy on her finger. Cole stood near the front, hat in hand, face unreadable. Mr. Calhoun presided from the raised platform, smiling like a snake in Sunday clothes. We're here to address concerns regarding Mr. Cole Tucker and his house guest. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. It has come to our attention, Calhoun continued, that Mr. Tucker may be exploiting Mrs. Brennan's unfortunate circumstances to claim her late husband's mining shares, unclaimed assets that legally revert to the county. Sarah's stomach dropped. This accusation, Calhoun said smoothly, suggests either impropriety or incompetence. Either Mr. Tucker is manipulating a vulnerable widow, or he's been manipulated himself. He paused. We're here to determine which. All eyes turned to Cole. He stood silent, jaw tight. Mr. Tucker, Reverend Mills prompted. Do you have anything to say? Sarah willed him to speak, to defend them, to fight. Cole opened his mouth, closed it, said nothing. Calhoun's smile widened. I see. Well, in the absence of clarity, I move that the county take custodial interest in Mrs. Brennan's situation, including guardianship of her minor children. Pending, Sarah stood, every head turned. He didn't manipulate me. I'm not a fool. Mrs. Brennan, Calhoun said kindly, no one's questioning your character, but you must understand without property, without legal standing. I understand, Sarah said coldly, that you want me gone so you can take what's left of my husband's claim. And you want Cole's land because it has water rights you need for your railroad scheme. Gasps. Calhoun's face darkened. Careful, ma'am, or what you'll ruin me you already have. She walked out. The door slammed. Outside. She heard women whispering, always knew Tucker was weak. Couldn't even save his own family. The words cut deeper than the cold. She didn't wait for Cole. Climbed onto the wagon. Drove back alone. When she reached the cabin, she removed the ring. Placed it on the table. Packed by lantern light. Woke the boys at dawn. Ma. Ben rubbed his eyes. What's happening? We're leaving. Why? Tommy whispered. Because... She couldn't explain it. Couldn't say because he didn't fight for us. Jacob appeared in the doorway, already dressed. His face was stone. Where's Mr. Tucker? I don't know. He let them talk about you like that. He just stood there. I know, baby. I hate him. Sarah pulled him close. No, you don't. I do. She didn't argue. She finished packing, hitched the horse, loaded the boys. Cole appeared as the sun rose standing in the cabin doorway, face hollow, hands empty. He didn't call out, didn't chase them, just watched as the wagon rolled away into the cold morning light. Sarah didn't look back. Behind them, the half-finished room stood empty, unfinished. Like every promise he'd made, the grave didn't answer. Cole hadn't expected it to, but he talked anyway, because the silence in the cabin was worse. I failed you, Ellie. His voice was hoarse. Failed Daniel. Now I failed them too. The whiskey bottle sat beside him half empty. He hadn't touched liquor since Eleanor's funeral, but tonight, the weight was too much. I'm a coward. You married a coward. The wind answered, nothing else. He thought about leaving packing up, riding west, disappearing into the mountains where men went to die slow and forgotten. It would be easier, cleaner. Then he thought of Tommy's face, Ben's songs, Jacob's anger, Sarah's hands in his. He thought of them huddled in some freezing shack, Sarah working herself to death while the county circled like wolves. I don't know how to fix this, he told the grave. Hoofbeats interrupted. Cole looked up, vision blurred. Old Moses dismounted blacksmith friend, the only man in Coldwater who'd never judged him. Moses was 60, black as midnight, strong as iron. He'd been a slave once, 40 years ago. He understood cowardice and courage. You done feeling sorry for yourself? Moses asked. Not yet. Well, hurry up. We got work to do. Cole stared at him. What work? Moses pulled a folded paper from his coat. This. He handed it over. A land deed. Moses' own property, 40 acres. Free and clear. What am I supposed to do with this? You're supposed to give it to her. Make her a landowner. Legal. Then you're supposed to stand up in front of that whole damn town and dare them to do something about it. Cole's hands shook. I can't. You think Eleanor would want you hiding? Moses' voice was sharp. You think she'd want you letting them boys freeze while you sit here drowning? I didn't save her. No. Moses grabbed his shoulder. You didn't. And you can't. She's gone. Cole. Daniel's gone. But Sarah's alive. Them boys are alive. You can save them. What if I fail again? Then you fail fighting. That's better than dying on your knees. Cole looked at the deed, then at the grave. Eleanor's voice whispered in memory. Be brave, love. He stood, wiped his face. Where is she? Old Line Shack, 5 miles north. She take me back. Only one way to find out. Cole saddled his horse, rode to the county office in the dark. The clerk looked up, startled. I need to file a transfer, now. It's past midnight. Now. He signed the papers slow, careful, the way Sarah had taught him. His name in unsteady letters. Legal. Binding. You sure about this? Tucker, the clerk asked. Never been more sure of anything. He rode north. The stars were bright. The air was cold. His heart pounded. Sarah's face filled his mind fierce, beautiful, broken. I'm coming, he whispered. The horse ran faster. Cole Tucker hadn't been inside a church since they buried Eleanor and Daniel. He walked in now like a man with nothing left to lose. The pews were full Sunday service, every soul in Coldwater present. Reverend Mills stood at the pulpit, mid-sermon about charity and judgment. Cole's spurs jingled in the silence. Every head turned. Calhoun half rose from his seat, face darkening. Tucker, this is— Shut up, Calhoun! Gasps. The Reverend froze. Cole walked down the center aisle, boots loud on the wooden floor. He stopped at the front, turned to face the congregation. You want to judge Sarah Brennan? His voice carried. Judge me. I asked her to stay. I built her a home. If that's improper, then your God and mine ain't acquainted. Mr. Tucker, Reverend Mills stammered. This is hardly the place. Cole pulled papers from his coat, held them high. This is a land deed. 40 acres. Water rights included. Transferred legally to Sarah Brennan. He met Calhoun's eyes. She's a property owner now. Her boy's got a home. Legal. Binding. Any questions? Calhoun stood, face purple. You're a fool. Tucker, you just signed away your future for a woman who— for family. Cole's voice was steel. Something you wouldn't know about. Calhoun, you just know property, and people ain't property. This is an outrage. You're right. Cole stepped closer. It is an outrage. That you turned a woman and 3 boys out in a blizzard. That you schemed to steal what little they had left. That you all sat in your warm houses and called it righteousness. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. She's worked harder than half of you. Bled for every inch. I'll stand with her till the ground takes me. He looked around the church. Any man here got issue with that. Step forward now. No one moved. Then old Moses stood. I stand with him. The schoolteacher rose. Me too. 3 ranch families. Delivery owner. The widow Henderson. Not everyone. But enough. Calhoun stared, trembling with rage. Then he shoved past Cole, stormed down the aisle and out the door. Reverend Mills cleared his throat. Well, sometimes the Lord works in mysterious ways. Cole didn't wait for benediction. He turned and walked out. Behind him, whispers bloomed like spring flowers. He mounted his horse. 5 miles north. Sarah's face in his mind. Hold on, he whispered. I'm coming. The horse galloped into the sunlight. Sarah heard hooves and reached for the rifle. Then she saw him head bowed, hat in hand. Cole. Her heart lurched. He dismounted slowly, stopped 10 feet away, looked at the boys, first Tommy, Ben, Jacob standing in the doorway of the miserable line shack. Jacob, Ben, Tommy! Tommy broke, ran to him. Cole caught the boy, held him tight. Ben followed, wrapping his arms around Cole's waist. Jacob stayed back, arms crossed, but his eyes were wet. "I'm sorry," Cole said. "I was afraid, and I let fear make me a coward." "You left us," Jacob said, voice breaking. "I know." Cole met the boy's eyes. "And I'll regret that till I die. But I'm here now, and I ain't leaving again." Jacob's face crumpled. He walked forward, slowly, and leaned into Cole's chest. Cole held all three boys, eyes closed. Then he looked at Sarah. She stood apart, face unreadable. "I got something for you," Cole said. He handed her papers. She read them once, twice. Her hands shook. "You gave me Moses's land. It's yours. Legal. You and the boys got a home. Whether you want me in it or not." "Cole, I stood up in front of the whole town, told them you were mine. Told them I'd stand with you till the ground takes me." He took a breath. "I should have done that weeks ago. I'm sorry." Sarah looked at the deed, at the boys, at the man standing in front of her, hat in hand, heart in his eyes. She reached into her pocket, pulled out the ring, the one she'd left on his table, slid it onto her own finger. "Then make it real. Cole Tucker. Make it a family." His face broke into something between a sob and a smile. He kissed her gentle, desperate, grateful. The boys cheered. 3 months later, spring bloomed full and fierce across the valley. The cabin stood solid now, addition complete. 2 proper rooms. A porch where Sarah could shell peas and watch the boys play. Cole taught Jacob to ride, patient and proud. Ben planted a garden with Sarah, singing the whole time. Tommy followed Cole everywhere, small shadow with endless questions. Old Moses officiated the wedding by the creek simple ceremony. No fuss. Just family and a few friends. Sarah wore wildflowers in her hair. Cole's hands shook when he said his vows, but his voice was steady. Town women visited, tentative at first. Most brought bread. Some brought apologies. Calhoun left Coldwater in disgrace, his schemes exposed. The land flourished. One evening, as the sun set gold and red across the valley, they stood together in the cabin doorway, 4 souls patched into a family. Behind them, Eleanor and Daniel's grave was ringed with wildflowers the boys had planted. Ahead, the valley stretched wide and green, full of promise. Cole's hand rested on Jacob's shoulder. Sarah held Tommy, who clutched the wooden horse Cole had finally finished. Ben grinned, barefoot in the grass, chasing fireflies. "You ready?" Sarah asked, squeezing Cole's hand. Cole looked at his family, and felt the weight lift. 3 years of grief, 3 months of fear, all of it washed clean by the simple act of choosing love over silence. "I'm home," he said. Sarah smiled. "So are we." The sun dipped below the mountains. The valley glowed. Somewhere in the distance, a meadowlark sang. They walked inside together. The door closed soft behind them. Home wasn't a place you found, Cole thought. It was a place you built one hard day, one brave choice at a time. And sometimes, if the Lord smiled, you built it with people who needed building too. Outside, the grave stood peaceful in the twilight. Eleanor and Daniel, resting, remembered, honored. But life belonged to the living. And life, finally, was good. The end.